All right. Yikes. What's up, y'all? Holy cow. I don't know. I'll tell you this much. This is going to be a huge video. Today is the 10th of April, 2026. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, and this is a video under our main side. Okay, the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here, where what we do is allow the body to work. Okay, that's our slogan, allowing the body to work. I just feel kind of out of place for some reason in this physical place, but this is where we're going to film this video. Dante's here, my current standard poodle, and let's talk about this. Okay, this video's title on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, the 10th of April 2026, is over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. We're going to discuss this because why are we a clothing company? What does it mean to allow the body to work? Well, we discussed the anatomy of the human body in depth. The reason we are a clothing company is because clothing is the only thing physically placed on our bodies. So clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. Okay, we've got a lot of things going on in modern day that are unnatural, artificial, and synthetic. These are synonyms with fake. Okay, we've got natural, neutral, and normal being synonyms with how the human body works. Now, this video's title, the reason for this is because in our bodies, there's over 600 muscles and there's over 200 bones, and this is all the human body is. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. Okay, even through the wind noise, we do it as we do it, blunt, bold, raw, and real, In The Image Clothing Company style. That's why I'm saying this location kind of feels a little bit weird, almost uncomfortable, not in a bad way, but it does for me, okay? But we just do it as we do it. The body only can do what it does, okay? It's just hinges and levers and rotations. The body is just made up of bones, there you go, 200 of them, a little over 200 bones in the entire body. They're only the shape and length that they are, okay? So bones connect directly to each other through tendons, although that's not the case. Let's talk about this though very clearly. These are called ligaments, the things that connect the bones to each other. Question my credibility, but maybe not until you finish this video, because you're gonna hear what I'm really saying with this. Yikes, and that's what I mean, is I feel uncomfortable with how big this video is. That's a big point. We also walked over 6 miles to get here, and we're gonna have to walk over 6 miles back. This is a big video, okay? We didn't walk here just to make this video necessarily, but bones connect directly to each other through ligaments. These are immovable sticks, basically, by themselves, the bones of the body, and they just connect right to each other, just only the way the ends of the bones are shaped. You notice my knuckles here in my fingers, okay, my hands. The bones of my hands connecting, and they just lock in place. If my hands aren't right in line with each other, the way that my fingers can just mesh with each other at the knuckles here, even just slightly off, they're not going to mesh. So the reason I say that bones are essentially immovable sticks by themselves is because a bone can't do anything motion-wise until it connects to another bone. And it does this directly through what we call a tendon. This is just a connector between, man, I said it again. I know what I'm talking about. Ligaments, okay? Ligaments are connecting bones directly to each other. I'm telling you, I feel off in this video, but because of how big it'll be. Just stick around and find out. Don't believe me, okay? As I say, don't believe me. Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Don't believe any of our team members with any of our information under In The Image Clothing Company, even any of our poodles, because truth is truth, and it's apart from all of us. I'm gonna really get to this, but why we're called In The Image Clothing Company is because we're designed in the image of God. In the image of Jesus Christ, we have this body, and we as human beings put clothing on it. So, yeah, videos don't normally go like this around this time period under In The Image Clothing Company, but I'm gonna say this clearly because it's just the literal word of clothing. Anything placed onto the body is physically clothing the human being. The way that God clothes the fields with grass, okay? That's the literal wording of clothing, is just something placed onto something else. So we're talking about glasses or jewelry, hats and pants, shoes, socks, tops, undergarments, gloves, anything you could possibly put onto the body. Well, there's always only just one way the human body could ever work, okay? No matter what it is, no matter what part of the body it's in, anything in every part of the body affects every other part of the body. This is a huge video. It's hard for me to get through already. I'm not joking about it. You'll see what I'm saying if you stick around. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine. Now, a lot of people have a lot of opinions on how to get the body to do something that is physically impossible. There's only one way to approach the human being, and it's by doing what our slogan under In The Image Clothing Company is, allowing the body to work. This is the thing. We can spend months, years, tens of years, or almost an entire lifetime within clothing that doesn't work for our bodies the way that our bodies work. We've got things like joints of body parts meshing with joints of material of clothing, and these things have to be in the same location. So our bodies getting into chronic patterning where scar tissue is building up in the body and bone spurs are building up in the body. This is why this video's title is what it is. Over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. Do you notice how spaced out I am in this video? We're gonna get through this because this is huge. Our bodies can get into chronic patterning. If we're trying to work around things that are physically placed onto our bodies, just a literal word of clothing, we've got these kind of things potentially happening. Oversized clothing, where we're not having things like joints of material meshing with joints of our body parts, like at the edge of the shoulder. We've got the collarbone, the upper arm bone, and the shoulder blade, okay? Other names for these same bones, clavicle, humerus, and scapula. These three bones meet and become the shoulder of the human being. It's just ends of three bones meeting. Like I'm saying, these bones are essentially immovable sticks. That's how I word it, because you take a stick and it won't do anything motion-wise without breaking, unless you connect this stick to another stick, and now where they join, they can move. The joints of our bodies, where the bone connects to a bone through a ligament, these are the areas in the body where it moves. This is how our body is a mechanical machine, is right at where the bones join, okay? So oversized clothing won't allow this to happen. And now let's say you've got this happening for years and years and years, wearing oversized clothing, your body will build up patterning and it won't be able to work normally because something's always on it. Gravity's got the same effect on our clothing as it does on our bodies. And so if our clothing is not working for our bodies are having to physically work around the clothing, but also gravity's pull is just pulling down on our clothing all day, every day that we're wearing it, okay? And if it's any of these things, that'll damage the body, right? Oversized clothing is a huge point. Now, imbalances of any kind in clothing could come through any kind of way. We've got zippers, pockets, buttons, seams, things like rotated seams in clothing. Robots are stitching our clothing in modern day. It never happened in the past. You know, we've got inventions of human beings, and the robots truly stitch clothing. The reason why this matters is because the type of stitching that's being used in clothing in modern day, okay, 2026, and around this time period and going forth, clothing will come down with the stitches, like on the sides of us, on our side seams of our clothing items, and at the bottom, where it meets something like the shirt tail or the pant cuff or the sleeve cuff, they will rotate the stitching and pin it flat to the clothing. And now you've got rotated clothing on your body when our bodies have their own neutrals, right? Natural, neutral, and normal. And then from there, they've got their own motion on either side of this neutral. Or if it's not just a hinge and lever system, like coming up or going down with the wrist from the neutral, we've got rotations, internal rotation or external rotation from the neutral. And just everything the body does, there's a neutral. So something like rotated seams in our clothing, they take our bodies, which have their neutral from their own rotation, internal rotation or external rotation, and they'll get our bodies stuck into a rotation patterning because the clothing that's placed onto our bodies is rotated. And so now our bodies aren't in their only neutrals to begin with. And this is the problem, okay, with clothing, is that there's imbalances in it, because then we get into chronic patterning. And this is what I'm saying. This is where this comes from, is things like this. We've got things like collar seams, where we just have even opposing musculature from the center line of our neck, okay? And this needs to be evenly surrounded by a collar of our top, okay? Keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars are two videos that we have here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, but just huge focuses in life, because we have to keep the even opposing musculature around the center line of our neck, which is the cervical spine, centered, okay? The jaw is the shoulder, is a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. The jaw connects directly to the edge of the shoulder through musculature, okay? As you can see here, the collar of my tops move when I move the musculature of my jaw. And so things like this, imbalanced collars that aren't sitting centered around our neck, or rotated seams in our clothing that are twisting our bodies from their own neutral with their own internal or external rotation from there. You know, things like this. The hand is the shoulder. When we lock the hand out from the shoulder by straightening the elbow between the two, the hand and the shoulder will do the exact same thing. Rotation wise, and just everywhere the shoulder goes, the hand goes. Everywhere the hand goes, the shoulder goes. This is the same from the foot to the hip. If we lock the foot out from the hip by straightening the knee between the two, anywhere the foot goes, the hip goes as well. Rotation wise, internal or external rotation, but then just any motion the foot has. There's a barking dog somewhere nearby. Right. So the point is, the human body only works one way. It's impossible, by the way. It is truly impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything that's lasting or that matters, really. Human beings try to train their own bodies or other human beings' bodies to have more muscle mass, and you can do this. You can gain all the muscle mass you want, the musculature size, but once you stop trying to get excessive size in your muscle, it only goes back to how it was before. There's a normal. The human body's only normal is something we discuss so often under In the Image Clothing Company, and that's what I'm saying with this video. There are over 600 muscles and 200 bones in the body, and they only do what they do. There's only a normal resting heart rate to the human being, a normal resting respiratory rate, the amount we breathe per minute, or the amount that our heart beats per minute, or however amount of time you want to measure it, right? There's a normal temperature to the body, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it stays at that always. Otherwise, it can be very damaged, okay? Permanently damaged. Too hot or too cold in the body. There's a normal amount of muscle mass versus fat content in the body to have a healthy balance. And there's a normal amount of hydration or liquid, which is water, that the body can house at a time. We rehydrate the body is then hydrated, the body gets dehydrated, and we rehydrate the body again. It's just this cycle, and hydration is in the middle. There's a normal amount. There's a normal amount of food the body can house in it at once, that it can actually do something with. So there's always a normal to the human being, okay? In the bones and the joints of the body's functioning, there's only a normal where the bones mesh and connect to each other through the ligaments, and then they track in line there, just the shape of the ends of the bones, and that's the normal, because outside of this shape, the bones won't mesh together, and then we can damage our bodies. Between our bones, we've got a thin layer of cartilage, which is cushioning for the bones so they don't wear each other out. Okay, a bone connects to a bone through this connecting point, which is a ligament. But between the actual bones, that's where that cushioning or cartilage is. This is part of what happens when we get into patterning, chronic patterning. The word chronic just means lasting. You know, we could say life lasting until or unless addressed or fixed. We'll get into chronic patterning in the body if it's not allowed to work just the only way that it can. The human body works activated as a whole. Everything in the body's there with its own individual role to play. It's all got its own function. It's all helping everything else do what it does. And if something in the body's not playing a role that it has to play, something else in the body that has an entirely different role can't make up for something's role. It can't compensate because they do different things. So this is where patterning can get created in the body as well. where if something in the body is not working properly, something else, or really the rest of the entire body, is trying to make up for its role, and this will damage the body because things only do what they do in the body. You know, the intestines only do digestion, for example. The digestive system only digests food. The heart only beats to pump blood through the body. The lungs only breathe to, well, breathe, right? That's all the lungs do, is have an exchange of gases happen to oxygenate the blood of our body. And everything in the body just does what it does. The feet do what they do, so the hands can do what they do. The shoulders do what they do, so the hips can do what they do. You know, and everything's working all together. And if it's not, this is where patterning gets created, okay? Where the body's just struggling to work. Now, this is what I'm saying, is this is happening by trying to work around all these things that could possibly be imbalanced, physically placed on us, which is just the literal word of clothing our human bodies with anything. Anything. I'm talking anything at all, okay? And so, in addition to all these things, like zippers that interlock one side over the other, and so one side's always on top, that's how a zipper works, is it interlocks. Things like pockets maybe on only one side of a clothing item and not the other side. Things like these rotated seams or collar seams, causing our collars to be imbalanced, or rotating our entire body through rotations anywhere in clothing. These things are really just always on our bodies anytime that they are. And our bodies will be trying to work around these things, but they can only do it to the degree that they can. And past that point, they have to try to force themselves, our bodies have to try to force themselves to work around these things. And this is where patterning gets created, okay? So we've got things like this: shoelaces and drawstrings, ropes introduced to the body. That's all this is. It doesn't matter what it is, rope-wise. It can be an apron around your body to keep your clothing clean when you're cooking or baking or something like this. You know, a knot on an apron, a ribbon around a dress, some kind of bandana around your head or your neck, an ascot type thing where you tie something like a scarf. Anything you tie at all, one side over the other, on or around the body. Yeah, on or around the body, you tie in a rope or tying something at all, you are twisting your entire body. And so this gets the body into chronic patterning. And this is what we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company. The only reason we're a clothing company is because clothing is the only thing physically placed on our bodies, so we can do our slogan, which is allowing the body to work. Under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, one of our fourths to In the Image Clothing Company, this is the whole point, is this is really what we do, and I discuss it like this, is get out of chronic patterning. That's what we are, as In the Image Clothing Company, is the human body. Its anatomy, its functionality, its natural workings, because there's no opinion to natural. Our bodies are literally only what we have eaten. It's not like we just eat things and it becomes our bodies, as in like it changes. It's our bodies are literally the earth. We can only eat natural things and it literally becomes the human being. Once our bodies die, they decompose back into the earth. And so there's no opinion to natural. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. Everything on this planet Earth that God made is made up of is just what it is and always is and was here before we got here as human beings, no matter what generation we're placed here in, okay? Truth is the point. You know, being designed in the image of God, he had to first look like us to be able to even word it as him designing us in his image. God is the same. Yesterday, today, and forever. God never changes. So the human body never changes, and we know this. You can dig up human beings from thousands and thousands of years ago and find their bodies, skeletal systems, and it still is shaped the way that it is in modern day. There's only one way the human body could ever work. This is what I mean. You'll never train the body. You never. It's impossible unless you change the shape and length of the bones and then the shape and length of the muscles that connect to the bones. Anyway, like I'm saying, I do feel off in this video. I just want to make it very clear. I mean, this is well over the 500th video by far, you know, well into the 500s of numbers of videos we have under In the Image Clothing Company's main site alone, as one of our fourths under In the Image Clothing Company as of today's date, the 10th of April 2026. But I just feel very off in this video, but I'm just gonna make it. But I'm also letting you know so you understand how I feel delivering this information right now. I just feel a little bit off. is big though, okay? The muscles of the body, they connect to the bones through tendons. We've got a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site titled The Human Body Only Pulls. It goes along with another video's title under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here titled The Human Body is Just Mechanics. As I was saying earlier, it's just a mechanical machine. And the way this happens, any motion of the body, which is what a mechanical machine is a machine of motion, is the muscles of the body connect to the bones of the body through tendons, and the muscles only pull. So we pull muscles together to close a hinge joint, like the elbow of the arm, but then the back side of the arm, we pull muscles as well to extend the hinge joint. So we pull to close or pull to extend hinge joints with levers of bones. The hinge is where a bone meets another bone and they move, and the lever is a bone moving where it connects to another bone. Okay? Hinges, levers, rotations, just physical mechanical operation, measurable degrees of motion mathematically is all the human being is. Okay? Bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles. This is the physical operation of the body. The body being made up of, as I said, over 200 bones, they come first. There has to be bones before you can connect muscles to them, okay? The bones of the body always come first. The whole skeletal system, meaning all the bones of the body, are already there. We can essentially look at it like this. You've got this entire body of skeletal system, just the bones of the human being, all connected through their ligaments, just as they are. The bones, only the shape and length that they are, just connecting directly to each other through these ligaments. And now, this whole skeletal system of the bones of the human being gets muscles pieced onto it to allow these bones to move. That's what the muscles do. Connecting to the bones through tendons, they stabilize the bones, and then they allow for motion. There's always two sides and there's always a neutral when it comes to the body working, because in order to move, you have to start in the center and move to one side to be able to come back to the center and move to the other side. If there wasn't opposing sides to every function in the body, then we would just move to one direction and you wouldn't be able to ever move again. You move to one side from the neutral, you come back to the neutral, and you can move to the other side of the neutral, okay? The wrist coming up or coming down from the neutral wrist, straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger, and really it's straight out the middle of the two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, down out and out the hand between each of these two fingers in the hand, meaning if we've got two fingers on one side of the hand and two fingers on the other side of the hand, the inner two fingers of the arm correlate with the radius in the arm, and the outer two fingers of the arm correlate with the ulna in the arm. These two bones in the forearms that allow for rotations, both internal or external from the neutral. There's only one way the human body could ever work. I have no opinion on it that could possibly matter. That's how you don't have to believe me, because truth is truth. Every body has one, or every one has a body. There's a universal human design. It's all the same, okay? You can have an amputation, a deformity, a birth defect, a major surgery, anything at all that makes your body different, sets your body apart from something. Well, what's it set apart from? This universal human design, okay? So we do have to get as close as we can in all of our own individualistic situations to the universal human design. And what this looks like is, well, in just a general human being's life, when their body is the basic universal human design, okay, like mine, we could say, personally, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, this looks like getting out of chronic patterning, back to how the bones are supposed to be shaped and all the motion the body should and just already naturally had before the patterning was created. And we'll get into this in depth. I'm not brushing over this. We're going to really discuss this. This will be a quite lengthy video, really. Okay, the 10th of April, 2026, In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Okay, over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. This is what I mean. For somebody whose body is the general universal human design's workings and makeup, if you will, yeah, if you've gotten into patterning, as I did personally, we have to get out of chronic patterning. Somebody who's got maybe an amputated limb, this looks like getting a prosthetic limb because Earth's gravity still pulls straight down on us and we need to stay balanced over it. Okay, let's talk about this while we're saying that. We are just working with gravity. We discuss gravity so much under In the Image Clothing Company because gravity's pull on the planet Earth is just vertical. And then we've got the horizontal surface to the planet Earth, and this is a perpendicular angle, a 90-degree angle, a right angle. It's just mathematics. So the body of the human being has a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. And all of these things need to stay straight up vertical, like you can see the buttons on my button-up shirt here staying centered and vertical with Earth's gravity. There's no opinion to having to stay centered, okay? Within our bodies, and then whatever we choose to do the literal word of clothe our bodies with, it has to stay centered as well, even through the wind noise, okay? I get it. The surrounding sounds, they're just there where they are. You'll be able to get the information from this video. Like I'm saying, I personally feel off in this video, not in a bad way. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable making this right now. I don't know exactly all of the reason as to why, but part of it's the location for sure. I'm just letting you know because regardless, it's just another date marked documentation under what we call the gift of video, and under any one of the four sides that it is of In the Image Clothing Company. In this case, it's under our main side. So yeah, the 10th of April 2026, over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. The thing is, yeah, let's say you've got a deformity. You were born with some kind of birth defect where your body didn't grow into what we could call the universal human design's functioning, physical workings. You know, doing what we can through our modern technologies with plastic surgeries to healthily get the body back to how it, quote, should be, unquote, if you will, you know, if you see what I mean, the universal human design. So this is why I say this, is, you know, under In the Image Clothing Company, when we discuss, we have to do all that we can to get to the universal human design's physical functioning and workings in our own individualistic situations, because it has to stay centered with Earth's vertical gravity pull and the center line of our bodies meshing, with the bottom of our feet having the neutral be the horizontal surface of the Earth. Then we have lifting the toes up, dorsiflexion, or pointing the toes down, plantar flexion, only from the neutral, right? You can only be set apart from the universal human design. Within the human body, you can only have motion from the neutral. In any functioning the body has, natural, neutral, and normal. The body's natural. It's pulled from the clay, as it says in the Holy Bible. Like I said, we're only literally what we have eaten. The body's functioning has a neutral position to it. And the body normally would just work because God designed the human body to work within our own individualistic situations. That's why we have it. That's why it is just this mechanical machine. It's supposed to take us across the earth. That's why it exists, is to work, okay? So we need to do all that we can in our own situations to have our bodies work as well as we personally can. We are individuals, we've got our own things, but there still is that universal human design. That's how we know how many bones are in the body and how many muscles are in the body and how the body, you know, should work, if you will. So this is what I'm saying is we get into patterning, you know? If you don't, listen to this. And if you don't, check out what we do under In the Image Clothing Company, because we know. And it applies to every body, literal wording, right? So, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I say, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. And then I discuss where clothing sits on the body very clearly as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, just so we don't alter our bodies, okay, and get into chronic patterning. But what does this look like? I mean, what is this really? What is this really? What is it? I mean, because I talk about it like scar tissue and bone spurs. All right. Scar tissue is toughened tissue in the body when the tissue or the muscles, the flesh of the bone, or the flesh of the body should be pliable. Our bodies are flesh, bone, and blood, really, is how we can discuss it. Okay. yeah, the blood lubricates the body. Well, water lubricates the body, but right, the blood is flowing through the body. The muscles move the body, and then that's the flesh, okay? The bones are the skeletal frame of the body, and this is how the body functions. Now, the thing is, scar tissue, yeah, it's this tissue or this flesh or the muscles of the body, and you know, the tendons and the ligaments and the things allowing the body to stay connected and to be able to move even within organs to the degree this can happen. You know, the flesh of the body, you know, the tissue of the body, it should be very mobile and pliable. That's how we move, is there's, you know, softness, cushion, and give to muscles. Within the muscle fibers, they have a lot of pliability to them. Scar tissue is when these muscles or any tissue in the body that could turn into scar tissue like this isn't able to move naturally because of, well, anything that it could be, but this is what I'm saying. Physically working around something physically placed on our bodies all the time, not allowing our bodies to work. It's no sales pitch, new information, you know, or anything like this, no approach under In the Image Clothing Company with what we do. Nothing we could take credit for either when we discuss how to allow the body to work. It just only does what it does. And so, yeah, the thing with it is, clothing is just the only thing physically placed on our bodies. I mean, that's it. It's just that simple to understand what's going on. It's just the literal wording. It could be anything. You don't have to even care the slightest bit about fashion, but just anything placed onto the body at all, okay? So what I'm saying is that's scar tissue, you know, where nice, mobile, pliable tissue in the body isn't like that anymore. It stiffens up and it gets really tough. Instead of nice and soft and mobile and pliable, it gets tough and hard, and some of its motion is limited. This is what we call scar tissue. And then we've got bone spurs in the body, which where these tendons connect the muscles to the bones, if the muscles aren't allowed to do what they do and only pull and do that directly in line where the bones ends are actually shaped in a way that they can mesh just directly together, this is how the muscles connect to the bones, is in a position where the bones contract directly in line, because all the muscles can do is pull from one tendon where it inserts to a bone to another tendon where the muscle inserts to a bone. They just pull two endpoints directly together. Muscles, that's it. That's all they could possibly do. Well, two or more endpoints. Let's say you've got an area where there's 3 different endpoints, but a muscle is only pulling these endpoints just directly to the other endpoints, where it's connecting to what these endpoints are, which are bones through the ligaments, okay? You'll have a muscle, and on either end of the muscle, there's a tendon connecting to a bone. Now this pulls and only directly in line, okay? That's how we move the bones. That's how the body moves. So what the body does through its musculature is it will either just stabilize it in place, or it will move, okay? We've got opposing musculature, like I'm saying, to every function. And so even when we're not moving and we're just standing stationary, we're pulling muscles on one side of a neutral, opposing muscles pulling from the other side of a neutral, and we stabilize right in the neutral or right in the center by each side's musculature opposing with a pull, okay? This is how the body stabilizes. This is how the body stands up. On Earth's vertical gravity pull, our bodies are pulling us left from the center. They're pulling us right from the center. They're pulling us forward from the center, and they're pulling us backward from the center. This is how our bodies allow us to stay standing up within our body's center line. And Earth's vertical gravity pull is opposing muscle is always pulling against another muscle that's opposing it, right? That's what it means to have opposing muscles. That's how the body works, is even not physically moving, the musculature is still activated to stabilize the body. So this is in everything. Like I'm saying, it's in standing, and it's when you're asleep, it's when you're eating, it's when you're walking, it's when you're breathing. Muscles are moving, okay? We've got the sternum in the center line of the front of the body here, this bone vertically where the buttons are on my button-up shirt here. The rib bones connect to the sternum here in the center and the front. they wrap around the body on either side, caging the lungs, okay, the rib cage. And these individual bones wrapping around the body, they connect into the center line of the body in the rear at the spine. And as we breathe, these rib bones actually move. Okay, so the big thing with this is when we're talking about what this video's title is, and really why this video's title is here, is to explain this, right? Over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. The point is, within the human being, there are over 600 muscles and different types of muscles, but then there are also over 200 bones, and these all only can possibly do what they do. This is what I mean. It truly is impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything, because the shape and length of the bones is only what it is. And then we've got them connecting directly to each other through ligaments. And then we've also now got the shape and length of muscles, only what they are, connecting directly to the bones through tendons, just to move the bones, tracking directly in line, only the way that all these things are shaped, otherwise they wear out. There's no possible opinion to it. There's only one way the human body could ever work. We just have to allow God's design of the human being to continue to function. And we live in this modern man-made world that gets placed onto God's natural earth. You know, any invention of a human being wasn't here before it was invented by human beings. But also, matter cannot be created or destroyed. So we can only take natural things to make unnatural things with. And these things will always decompose back to natural. It just takes some time. And so we alter things as human beings, but we are a God-made body that makes things. Okay, so we've got man-made things we're dealing with, and these are a lot of things that gets our bodies into patterning as well. We discuss this very clearly. In this modern man-made world, we've got flat things like slippery flat flooring, when our feet naturally would always have texture. There's texture to the earth, to the dirt and the rocks, and just the plant life on the ground that naturally grows. You know, our feet have a lot happening in them. And let me discuss this right now while I'm saying this before we get further into this video, because with these 200 plus bones in the human being, over half of them are in the hands and in the feet. In our hands, we've got mid-20s. I don't know exactly which one is which. There's 26 bones in either the hands or the feet, and then the other one, the hands or the feet, has 27 bones. So yeah, mid-20s though in the amount of bones in just one hand. And same with just one foot. So now let's say we've got, you know, 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. That's 100 bones. There's 100, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 106 bones as far as I'm aware, but just right over 100 bones is the point. However exactly many, I'm pretty sure it is 106 though, just in the hands and feet alone of the entire human being. Over half of its bones are in the hands and the feet combined. And so this is why we discuss so clearly under In the Image Clothing Company, well, the hands and the feet. We discuss how the hand is the shoulder and how the foot is the hip, like I said earlier in this video. You lock the hand out from the shoulder at the elbow between the two, they'll do the same thing. You lock the foot out from the hip at the knee between the two by straightening it is the point. Straightening the elbow or the knee, you know, the extremities will do the same thing. Yeah. The hand does what the shoulder does, the foot does what the hip does when locked out at the hinge joints between them, okay? The elbow or the knee. And so the thing is, we put so much focus on the hands and feet, even through the wind noise, okay, under In the Image Clothing Company. And a big way that that comes through is this. With our modern man-made world, we've got slippery, flat flooring, tile, and wood, smooth, buffed concrete, and, you know, fake floorings as well, like laminates and man-made floorings, yeah, in all sorts of ways. Our feet don't have the natural ability to grip the ground to support our entire bodies on these excessively slippery, these unnaturally flat floorings that we make as human beings in our modern man-made societies. We've got feet at our foundation. Opposing the center line of the human body, they grip arches inward, and that's what keeps us vertically standing up on Earth with its vertical gravity pull. Okay, the spine and the center line of the body comes down with all of these little individual bones that make up the spine called vertebrae. It comes from the center line of the body, and when we get to the hips, or the pelvic structure of the human being, the pelvis, we split off to either side of the body, and now we've got a leg on either side. So the body is being supported by these feet, and these feet are a fourth of the body's entire bone amount just in our 2 feet. We've got 50 something bones, okay? Out of the 200 bones, a little over 200 in the entire body, that's just in the feet alone, supporting the entire body. So this is why we focus on the feet so much under In The Image Clothing Company. Well, things like the slippery flat flooring, okay, unnatural for the feet, and they have a really hard time gripping arches in the feet to support our bodies. We've got internal rotation, external rotation, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, pronation and supination, gripped arches in the feet with a foot tripod. We've got different length toes, which is the video's title under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, okay, different length toes. We've got 5 different length toes in the human being's feet that we evenly roll off the ends of to share the weight of the entire body. But this means that we've got to point the pinky toe straight forward because the toes are different lengths, okay? We've got a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site titled The Pinky Toes and the Pinky Fingers. The pinky toe is straight forward, neutral, rolling evenly off the end of our 5 different length toes. The pinky finger is straight out the outside of the arm, the forearm here, neutral, right? And then we've got different length 4 fingers wrapping around our different length thumb, and the thumb plays a completely different role than the fingers do. The fingers track in line straight out from the forearm, and the thumb, it does a completely different motion. It's an opposable thumb. So we've got a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site titled The Open Palm and Internal Rotation, because the hands only work rounded, and just as we have these slippery, unnaturally flat, man-made floorings for our feet that only can grip textured earth, because that's how God designed the human being, is on the natural textured earth that always remains, even when we place our man-made world's slippery, flat, unnatural flooring on top of it, the natural earth is always still there. Our rounded hands are holding a lot of man-made, hey Dante, good boy, good. Our rounded hands as human beings with our different length 4 fingers, sorry, I thought I just poked him right in the eye, but I just kind of hit him with my fingers. There you go, I was talking about the fingers. We have different length 4 fingers that wrap around our different length opposable thumb. We have a rounding openness to the inside of our hand we call the palm, just like we have a rounding openness to the underside of our feet we call feet arches. So we can call these hand arches, the rounding to the hands. If we alter the rounding in our hands, it will alter the arches in our feet. If we alter the arches in our feet, it will alter the arches in our hands. Like I said earlier in this video, the human body only works activated as a whole. If something in it's not working properly, other things will try to compensate or make up for the role, and the body will be damaged, getting us into patterning. This is what I'm saying. This video's title, the 10th of April 2026, In The Image Clothing Company's main side, 600 muscles, well, over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. When we get into patterning, well, the whole body's still there. It's all being affected to some degree, if any of it is being affected or changed or altered from its only in-line, natural, neutral, normal working positioning and functioning as just this mechanical machine that the human body is. The bones don't cease to be the shape and length that they are, and the muscles don't cease to be the shape and length that they are, connecting to the bones just to allow for motion. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. There's no possible opinion to that could ever possibly matter. So don't believe me. But let's discuss this thoroughly, because if we have these rounded human hands and we make things as human beings that are so unnaturally flat and slippery, lacking the natural texture as well, then all the natural things that are just in life, in nature, texture and rounding and grip for our hands to work, our hands just can't work properly. Sorry, Dante. I just dropped some dirt and stuff from this little, lump of dirt into Dante's eyes there. My standard poodle here. Anyway, our hands can't work properly if they can't work properly. The bones only connect the way they do. And so we have so many things, inventions of human beings, that are just extremely flat, because that's what we do. We make things as human beings. And no matter what, we're making these things with our bodies. Then our body's hands never cease to be round within this universal human design, the way that the hands work. In November of 2025, down in beautiful St. George, Utah, I filmed 2 videos back to back. One of them was titled, "There is only one way the hands work," and the other one is titled, "There is only one way the feet work." And this is what I was discussing in that video, is just that there's only one way all the bones are shaped in the hands and feet. There's only one way that the muscles are shaped in the hands and feet that connect directly to the bones, and these things can only do what they can do. It's impossible to get the human being to do anything besides what it does. It grew for itself. God just orchestrates everything that's happening. The body grows by itself. The heart beats for itself. The lungs breathe for themselves. The eyes blink for themselves. The body heals itself if it gets cut. Even when you're asleep or unconscious in a coma, your body is still beating its heart and your lungs are still breathing. And the times that this is the case, it's just always happening. The point is, if you're alive, this is happening, or you're not alive. And we're not doing these things. There is only one way the human body could ever possibly work. We just have so many differences in what we could call posture from human being to human being, the ways that we stand up. But Earth's vertical gravity pull never changes from its vertical nature. Earth's horizontal surface never changes from its horizontal nature. So we need our feet flat on the ground, in the term zero drop in any brand of shoe, just meaning flat, or just barefooted. I filmed a video in beautiful St. George, Utah in November of 2025, also titled this, right? Another video I filmed down there. I filmed many videos down there in the give or take 2.5 weeks that I was there then, but the feet only work barefooted. Shoes can be coverings for our feet, but they can't alter our feet's only workings, or the rest of our body gets damaged, because our feet are supporting our entire body on Earth's vertical gravity pull when our feet are our foundation. So our body has even measurable mathematical opposing bends back and forth just to stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, standing with our feet on its horizontal surface to the Earth. The ankles bend backward. The ankles are just a hinge joint with the lever of the foot. The knee bends forward. The knee is just a hinge joint with the levers of the lower legs and the upper legs. The tibia and fibula in the lower legs, and the femur is the upper leg. The hips bend backward, which is the pelvis, okay? This is just a hinging at the hips that we have. We bend forward generally at the hips, but the hips neutral is the same as the bottom of the feet's neutral. It's just the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. The hips can tuck under us, posterior, or they can rotate away from us, anterior, but this is from the neutral, okay? They're bending backward though when we hinge forward at the hips to do things with our hands in life. Our feet are supporting us from the front. Our face is in the front, our eyes are in the front. So the hips bend backward, generally, okay? I mean, that's the vast majority of the degree of the motion in the hips is going to be them bending forward. Yeah. It's mathematically opposing, okay? Ankles backward, knees forward, hips backward. The lower back, the lowest third of the back, is the lumbar spine. It bends forward. Then there's a mid-back, the thoracic spine. It bends backward. Then the upper back is really just the neck. It's the cervical spine. It bends forward. So there's an even mathematical opposing back and forth in the body from bottom to top, and that's how we stand up. There truly is just only one way the human body could ever work. It's the shape and length of the bones, the shape and length of the muscles connecting to the bones. So the question is then, how can we possibly have differences in posture or the way that we stand up vertically as human beings, even if we compare like one human being's ability to stand vertically to another human being's ability to stand vertically on Earth's vertical gravity pull? If both of these human beings have their bodies working the way that the universal human design is structured, how then can they stand differently and have different postures? Well, Dante's just walking away. He'll come back, but patterning, that's the answer. That's the only way it's possible, because the shape and length of the bones don't change. The shape and length of the muscles don't change that connect to the bones. There's no opinion to this. There's no way you'll get the human being to do anything, but if the human being, once being within the universal human design structure, has changed to not working well anymore, it's only possible, it's only physically possible if something's happened, like an injury, or you're just in chronic patterning. And so this is what I'm saying, is what does it mean to be in patterning? Well, it's everything in the body all still there. That's what I'm discussing with this video's title, why it's titled the way it is, why this video is needing to be made right now for the sake of why we're doing it under In The Image Clothing Company's main site on the 10th of April 2026. There are over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. When we talk about patterning within the body, it's not just that one thing in the body is not quite working so well, but everything in the body is there. There are over 600 muscles in the body. So, and over 200 bones. That's just a lot of things all working together to allow this human being to do everything that it does. Good, Dante. Standing and sitting, walking, breathing, eating, sleeping, hydration. These are all things we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company. We just have to approach it through what's physically placed on us. Everything we do in our lives, we're doing it in and through, we can just word it like this: the only thing physically placed on our bodies at the time, which is the literal word of clothing our bodies, no matter what it could possibly be that's placed onto our bodies. That's it. Even if you had something placed on your body that didn't look anything like a clothing item, but you just hanging something over your shoulder, you're clothing your shoulder with something, like you're carrying a log from a tree on your shoulder. We could essentially, technically, literally word that as clothing your shoulder with a log for the amount of time you have it on there. It's just literal wording. This is what we do, who we are under In The Image Clothing Company, and the reason we're a clothing company, and have been since the very founding. This has been the point of me, Evan Strong, founding In The Image Clothing Company. And I'll be doing this my entire lifetime, because we can't just go to somewhere like a gym and try to do exercising and workouts to help our bodies if we have this going on in our bodies. This video's title: over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning, from their only neutral, natural, or normal workings, from the only way the human being actually can function physically, mechanically, just being a mechanical machine or a machine of motion. If our bodies are within patterning and they're not working the way that they do, there truly is only one way the human body does work, then we can't just look at a certain part of our bodies and just try to massage out something, like put pressure against the musculature of just a certain part of our neck. If we have neck pain or neck tension, why do you have neck pain or neck tension? There's a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, also filmed in beautiful St. George, Utah in November of 2025. titled, "What Really Is Neck Pain?" Well, anytime there's an imbalance of musculature that needs to be evenly opposing something like the neck, we've got musculature of the jaw evenly opposing the center line of the neck. We've got musculature supporting the shoulders evenly opposing the center line of the body at the neck. We've got diaphragms in the neck, which are muscles that are opening the rib cage, lifting up vertically from some of these upper ribs, these rib bones that are in the neck. And so what I'm saying is, when we talk about getting into chronic patterning, well, we don't have to even word it like that. We can just say, if the body's not working, there are over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. If the body is not in its normal workings, but it's in a different pattern of working, if you see what I'm saying, this is just literal wording. This is the truth of how to address the human being. There's only one way to. It's looking at it as an entirety with this many things in it going on. That's the point of this video's title, is to show the truth of how many things in the body are always, if you are alive as a human being, working together with each other to allow any functioning to happen, even just at the baseline of breathing, which is the essence of human life. It's taking the entire body to some degree to stabilize in every single breath we take, because it's all there, and it's a physical motion of this entire rib cage physically moving every single time we breathe, which is constantly if you're alive as a human being. So when it comes to it taking the entire body to stabilize in every single breath we take, well, the entire body is made up of over 600 muscles. So what I'm saying is, a lot of times people will feel pain or discomfort in their bodies and think that they can rid this by just massaging out maybe one or a few specific muscles in their body. This is one or a few specific muscles out of over 600 that are all going to be within patterning to the degree that they would have to be, having the body continually not only even just working as far as doing anything physically, mechanically that we could label like walking, but just staying alive. This is the body working. The body's always digesting food, the body's always breathing, and the body's heart is always beating. At very least, we say these things are certainly always continually happening if you are alive as a human being or you're not alive. If these things are not happening in some form or some way for you to stay alive, these are the things that cause us to live, right? Breathing, the heart beating, and digesting food of some kind in some way. These things have to happen at very least. I'm just saying at least these things. And why I'm saying it like that is because the heart is just a muscle moving. The lungs are just muscles moving. The diaphragm's opening the rib cage, opening the void space within our rib cage, which are these lungs, which are essentially like balloons, for an exchange of gases to happen, for us to have air rush into our bodies, for us to breathe. And digestion, this is musculature through our intestinal tract and our digestive system in the stomach and all the organs from the opening of the mouth out the rectum. This is musculature moving the food through the body. All of the muscles in the body, there are over 600 of them. They're all there always if it's attached to your body. Unless you have something cut off of your body or amputated from your body, everything in your body is always there, forever. Your entire time that you're alive as a human being in this physical life, in this state. So any patterning that's created in any part of your body, it is affecting every aspect of your entire body. So we can't try to get our bodies to do anything besides the shape and length of the bones and the shape and length of the muscles, the way that the body's organs function, and this all happening as a whole. But if your body's not working so well from your own personal individual normal, your body working all together, activated as a whole because everything's there, getting our bodies back to their natural workings, we can label it as getting out of patterning, this patterning not allowing our bodies to work normal. This cannot possibly happen by only addressing a few muscles in our body. And even addressing the musculature's main part, like the main flesh of a muscle in the body, this cannot help you. All muscles do is pull together or relax. They pull together and then relax. They pull together and then relax. Muscle fibers have an electrical system sent from the brain of the human being through the brainstem, down through the spinal cord, through the entire body. Electrical signals are sent to the muscles to tell them to fire. Muscles only pull together. This is contracting, and that's it. The only other end is relaxing or deactivating. But the body has to stay activated to just stand up, or we just flop to the ground with Earth's vertical gravity pull just pulling down on us. So you can't possibly do anything really at all by trying to just massage out the meat of the muscle, the flesh of the muscle, the center part of the muscle between the tendon on either end of the muscle that's connecting it to a bone. This won't help you. All this muscle is doing is contracting and then relaxing. Contracting and then relaxing. Muscles contract to pull a hinge closed, while the muscles on the other side relax for the hinge to close. Muscles contract for the hinge to open, while muscles on the other side relax for the hinge to open. These opposing muscles, one side pulls while the other side relaxes. Now this side pulls while the other side relaxes. This is the only thing the body can possibly do to physically, mechanically function. That's what the body is it's a physical, mechanical machine, which is a machine of motion. It moves. Food going through the body is because muscles are moving in the digestive system. The lungs breathing is muscles moving. The heart beating is muscles moving. Everything the body does is motion. But the thing with the muscles is, at least in the case of muscles connecting to bones, we can discuss it like this. Muscles connect through the tendon to the bone. They only do this where they do it. It's like me tying something like a rope to one of these trees. My rope is only tied to the tree where the rope's tied to the tree. If I pull on this rope, it can only pull from where it's directly tied to the tree. If the tree is a bone, the rope is a muscle, and me on the other end of the rope, I could be another bone. The rope's only connected to my hands where it is on one end, and it's only connected to the tree where it is on the other end. The middle of that rope doesn't really matter, could never really change where that rope is connecting on either end of it, to the tree or to my hand, which could be the muscle in the middle being the rope, a tree on one end being one bone, and my hands on the other end being another bone. These are the insertions or the tendons. Each end where the rope's connected to my hands here, the rope connects to my hands through, we could say, a tendon. The rope connects to a tree, we could say, through a tendon. The muscle connects to a bone through a tendon on either end of it. It will never do anything else. It's impossible for it to, besides pulling directly where it's connected to either end. That's it. So addressing the middle part of the muscle will never help you, because the only reason the muscle's not going to be working properly is if it's trying to pull the only way it possibly physically can, where it's connected on either end, and it's trying to pull those ends directly together, which is the only things the muscles can possibly do in the body, is just pull directly in line together. If this inline position isn't in line, then the muscle can't pull the bones. properly because it can only possibly pull in line. But if the bones aren't able to move in line, the muscle will stiffen up and not work properly. But it's only because where it's inserted to the bones is in a position that's not in line. It's impossible to train the human body to get it to do anything. It always has been, and it always will be. Every body has and is always will be the exact same within the universal human design. It's only the shape and length of the bones, the shape and length of the muscles. So the point is, when I talk about chronic patterning as the founder of InTheImage Clothing Company, you know, scar tissue and bone spurs, well, a bone spur is, if these bones aren't tracking in line, then the muscles that only can possibly pull directly in line, where they connect to the bones through tendons, these muscles can't pull in line either if the bones can't track in line. So something like an oversized top, you pull down on your shoulders from their neutral height, okay? Keeping elbows at the natural waist is a video under InTheImage Clothing Company's main site here. The elbow, which is just the bottom end of the upper arm bone called the humerus, it sits above the hip bones but below these lowest ribs at our natural waist, where there's no bones here until we get to the center line of the body at the spine. And this is how we can bend side to side, is at our natural waist. And now our elbow bone isn't hitting into the bones of our hips, and we can actually bend side to side. But the bottom end of the upper arm bone, called the humerus, being the elbow, is just the top end being the shoulder. Top end of the upper arm bone is the shoulder, the bottom end of the upper arm bone is the elbow. Like I'm saying, bones are immovable by themselves. There's a neutral to the height of the shoulder and the height of the elbow. It's the exact same thing because it's the same bone, this upper arm bone called humerus, just coming up or down. That's it. It's impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything. But if we've got an oversized top item of clothing on our shoulders, gravity having the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies, pulling our shoulders down from their only neutral position, which is the exact same neutral position as the elbow, because it's just connected through an immovable by itself bone called the upper arm bone or humerus, our shoulders dropping to the low end of their neutral because of our top pulling down on them, with Earth's vertical gravity's pull having the same effect on our clothing items that it has on our bodies. Our wrist won't track neutral if our elbow won't track neutral, because the wrist is the elbow as well. We have the radius and ulna in this forearm, and one end of the radius and ulna, or the forearm, is the elbow, meeting the upper arm bone called the humerus, but the other arm, or the other end of the forearm, the radius and ulna, is the wrist, meeting the bones of the hand. So the wrist is not only determined by the elbow, but it's determined by the shoulder, because the elbow and the shoulder are the same thing through an immovable by itself bone of the upper arm bone called the humerus. It's impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything besides what it does. Ever, always, only. That is it for every human being to ever live on either end of time, ever. You can never go to the gym and work your body out, or do it wherever you'd like to try to get your body to do something different, like having a better standing position than the only shape and length of your bones in the entire body, and the only shape and length of your musculature in your entire body. It is physically impossible, okay, to get the human being to do anything besides just what it does. But this chronic patterning, it is traveling through over 600 muscles and 200 bones in the entire body, all connected as a kinetic chain, meaning just what I said there. Everything in it is connected. It's all going anywhere any of it goes, the entire body of the human being. So if an oversized top item of clothing is pulling down on our shoulders with Earth's gravity pulling on it, Our hand will be out of its inline only neutral tracking position, straight out these bones in the forearm where the fingertip musculature stems from, which is the elbow. It travels through the entire forearm before we could ever possibly try to address the hand. The hand is the elbow. The elbow is the shoulder is the spine is the hips are the legs are the feet, and up to the tip of the head as well, with the jaw stabilizing the entire body between there, and just the body all working together. There are over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning in the human being, if there's patterning in the human being. So if you have musculature's, tightness happening in a place like your neck, you can't just rub out your neck. There are over 600 muscles playing into the neck's ability to exist, because muscles in the feet stabilize the entire body before we could get up to the neck. There are muscles in the whole body and bones in the whole body. And if they're not tracking in their only possible working position, which is their only shape and length of the bones or the muscles, really it's and or, because they both are there connecting to each other in the entire body. If this isn't happening anywhere in the body, the rest of the entire body is damaged as well. Over 600 muscles are playing into any kind of pain you're feeling in your neck. Over 600 muscles are playing into any kind of pain you're feeling in your knee. Over 600 muscles are playing into any kind of pain you're feeling in your back. And we could say this about any part of the body. If something's not working properly, or it's in a different pattern of working than it's only inline tracking, then it's the entire body's 600 plus muscles and 200 plus bones playing into this pain you're experiencing. All pain is in the body is the body speaking to you, telling you something's physically not working properly. It's our body's way of communicating with us. That's all it is. It's our body's way of telling us that it is within patterning. Unless it's a physical injury and you hit your body onto something, or you physically break a bone or something like this, it is just patterning in your body. If it's something that has just come up over time, we could call it an overuse injury. This is through patterning. If it's something that's happened with age, this is through patterning. If it's something that comes through repetitious activity, this is through patterning. It's patterning, and it's not something you can address by looking at only one or a few parts of your body, as in one or a few muscles in your body. This will not help you, because it is over 600 muscles that are playing into this even possibly being able to be something you can physically experience as pain. And it is over 200 bones playing into something you could possibly even explain as being something you could experience as pain. The body is working all together, or it is not working well. We have our own individual situations, but this is why we have to get as close as we can to the universal human design by doing all the ways that this could possibly happen within our own individualistic situation. And getting out of any possible chronic patterning in the body is essentially required, or we will be living within constant pain, because there truly is only one way the ends of the bones are shaped in the body. And the bones hitting into each other in any way that's just not the only way they track in line, it will cause pain, because it's supposed to tell the body, to tell us, that we need to address something in our bodies. That's why you experience pain. It's a good thing. Because if our bones aren't tracking the only way they possibly can because of the physical shape of them, they will hurt each other. as in physical pain will be experienced, so that we intellectually as a human being address this part of the body to try to get it back to tracking the only way it physically possibly meshes together, the shape and length of these over 200 bones in the body and the shape and length of these over 600 muscles in the body. There's no possible opinion on trying to get the human being to do anything. People try to train their bodies. People have the professions, if you will, of sports coaches, personal trainers, and physical therapists who often, a lot of these people have no idea what they're doing because they're trying to get to your body to do something which is physically impossible. The only end is to get the body back to its only shape of its physical bones, which are essentially just immovable sticks by themselves until they connect to another stick, if you will, or another bone, where they join, and at this joint there's motion, but only in the shape of these 200 plus bones in the body, the way they are actually physically designed to mesh together. That's the only possible way the human body can physically function, and this is what we call the neutral position between the two sides of functioning. There's just a neutral position between the two sides of functioning. There's no possible opinion to this, and this is the same for every human being to ever live. There's nothing I could take credit for as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, but so many human beings don't understand this, and it is, has, and always will be the exact same. Being designed in the image of God, the body never changes of the human being. God is always the same, also being called the truth. Something that once was true, always will be, and anything that is true always has been and will never cease to be what it is. Just like the shape and length of these 200 plus bones in the body and these 600 plus muscles in the body. It is impossible to benefit the body in the way that you're trying to get the musculature's tension or tightness to go away by just massaging into the meat or the middle part of the flesh of the musculature of the body. The only reason this could possibly get tight or stiff is if the ending points, the insertions of the musculature to the bone on either end of the muscle aren't directly opposing each other in a way that they can just pull straight in line. So this is what I'm saying. We wear an oversized top. This is not in the slightest possible way a sales pitch. This is the truth of life for every human being to ever live, no matter who's trying to train their body. That is physically impossible. It's physically impossible. Every opinion aside, ever, it's physically impossible to get the body to do anything besides what it does. That's why it's the only thing you can possibly do is allow the body to work. If we have an oversized top pulling down on our shoulders, we drop the upper arm bone's height by pivoting down and out on this collarbone called the clavicle. This is down and external rotation or up and internal rotation. The only two possible ends of the neutral that the collarbone or clavicle, one of the three bones of the shoulder, can do. It connects from the top of the sternum here in the center line of the body, right beneath the neck in the front. It comes up and out and becomes one of the three bones of the shoulder. This is the collarbone called clavicle. It either comes up and internal rotation or it goes down and external rotation. It is impossible for it to do anything else. Besides, when it goes down, it puts the body's whole entire arm into external rotation, and when it comes up, it puts the body's whole entire arm into internal rotation. It is impossible to train the arm of the human being to do anything besides the shape and length of the bones. We're just pivoting directly bone to bone on either end of this collarbone called clavicle. It either does one of these two things only: up and internal rotation, clear from the shoulder out to the fingertips, or down and external rotation, clear from the shoulder out to the fingertips, and the neutral is just the thumb pointing straight forward with the arm straight or straight up with the arm bent at the elbow. Okay, It's impossible for it to do anything else. It's the shape and length of the bones. Now, the big point is an oversized top pulling down on our shoulders, it drops the collarbone called clavicle down, which has no possible other choice because of the shape and length of the bones besides putting the entire arm of the human being into external rotation. So now, with this opposable thumb and these 4 fingers being different lengths than all of each other and only meshing the way that they do, only tracking in line at that neutral wrist, and nothing else could possibly happen with them without binding of bones and musculature, it will all drop down. The shoulder drops down from the collarbone called clavicle, going down with an oversized top, with gravity's pull pulling down on our shoulders. The upper arm bone will drop down, which means the bottom of it, which is the elbow, is now lower. It will hit into the hip. The forearm, the radius and ulna, will just be in a different position than they would naturally be in the neutral, just because there is a neutral, and now we've dropped to the low end of it from the shoulder down, really starting from the collarbone, essentially starting at the center line of the body at the top of the sternum, out and down. The wrist will now be on a dropped angle from its neutral, which is the only position the fingers can possibly track because of the shape and length of all the bones in the hand, and one hand makes up an entire, what would it be, an 1/8 of the bones in the entire body. I might have said it wrong earlier. I said a 1/4. Oh no, I did say it right. I was talking about both feet. Yeah, both hands though would make up a 1/4 of all of the bones in the entire body. So one of these hands, even through the airplane noise, let's wait for just a little amount of time here, so it's a little bit quieter than that. The 10th of April, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main side, over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning is this video's title. This is what I'm saying. After we've traveled all the way down to the wrist, now the wrist will be not in a neutral position. And what is this? What does this mean? This means the way that these bones are connecting to each other directly through ligaments, only the shape that they are, and they never will cease to be that shape, are now not meshing the only way they possibly can to have motion, being just this mechanical machine, or this machine of motion, which is the human being. It can only possibly work if it can possibly work. But the entire body, from the collarbone up and out to the shoulder, down the upper arm bone called humerus, to the elbow, which is the joining bones of the humerus, to the radius and ulna in the forearm, out to the wrist, into all of these bones in the hand, because of an oversized top item of clothing with gravity's pull pulling our shoulders down from the low end of their neutral, all of this is altered. There are 600 muscles and 200 bones, except there's over 600 muscles and over 200 bones in the entire body that all get affected in a chain-like manner like this if anything is out of its only neutral position, which is literally saying its only working position. There is only one way the hands work. There is only one way the feet work. And this is the same for every function of the entire human being. It is only a mechanical machine, fueled by food and lubricated by water. It can only function if it can function. It's determined by the shape and length of over 600 muscles and over 200 bones. So, something as simple as just having the seams that should be sitting as close as we can get right to the very edges of our shoulders, where we have 3 bones meeting to become the shoulder, the collarbone called clavicle, the scapula called shoulder blade, and the upper arm bone called humerus. If this edge seam of the clothing item of our top is not meshing as close as we can with the joining materials where the joining bones of our bodies are, but we have an oversized top, only just at one location of what this could mean to be oversized, just the seam at the edge of our shoulder, it will affect the collarbone called clavicle, the scapula called shoulder blade, the upper arm bone called humerus, the elbow, which is the joining part of the upper arm bone, to the radius and ulna, and the forearm, all of the bones in the hand, out the fingers and the thumb, just because of one seam and Earth's vertical gravity pull on it, pulling our shoulder down from its only neutral, natural, and normal, really truly its only working inline tracking position determined by the shape and length of the bones and the shape and length of the muscles. This entire chain of the arm will be damaged because one seam of an item of a clothing called a top. I mean, this is the truth of this to the depth of what this is. So what I'm saying is, now with our wrist drop, what is a bone spur? Well, with the wrist dropped, stemming from the collarbone, because of the oversized clothing item we call a top, now the musculature stemming at the elbow, coming through the whole forearm out to the ends of the fingertips that you can see moving here as I wiggle all of my fingers, clear from my elbow to the tips of my fingers. You can see the musculature connecting to the bones through the tendons in my arm, only the shape and length that they are, and then moving the bones, which are only the shape and length that they are as well. This can only possibly physically, mechanically, mathematically happen one way: in line. Dropping the shoulder and now the wrist, as we try to move our hand, everything is on an angle, and the bones are being pulled on by these muscles connecting to them through tendons in a way that is not the only way the bones are shaped. The bones just being essentially immovable sticks by themselves, only able to move where they connect to another bone. It's impossible for the body to do anything besides the only shape and length of the bones, the only shape and length of the muscles. So now we'll pull on the fingers out of their only bone shape position, and the muscles pulling on the finger bones through the tendons, connecting them all the way up to the elbow joint, where the upper arm bone called the humerus meets the radius and ulna in the forearm. We pull on the bones excessively in an unnatural position out of their only working position, their in-line neutral tracking position determined by the shape and length of the bones, and now we alter the shape and or length of the bone, and this is called a bone spur. We literally alter the shape of the bones because we're pulling on them through the musculature, but the bones still only ever tracking the way they connect to each other through the ligaments that don't move from where they connect a bone to a bone. The only option in this case for any motion to try to continue to happen is the bone actually growing differently in its natural shape. This is called a bone spur. So when I'm saying this video is huge, what I'm saying is what I just discussed about the arm. It's an entire chain, and you cannot possibly massage out a muscle and have it benefit, really, because why is the muscle tight to begin with? Why is the muscle stiff to begin with? Why can the muscle not do the only thing it's there to do and just pull and just directly in line where it's connected directly to bones through tendons? That's a very simple task, and there's no reason the muscle can't do that unless the end points where the muscle is inserting to bones aren't directly in line from each other. So you can massage the middle part of the muscle all you'd like to. You'll never possibly do anything with that. All the muscle will ever do is pull, and it'll only ever do it directly in line. And as long as the end points where the muscle is inserting to the bones, which we call tendons, are directly in line apart from each other, with the meat or the flesh or the main part of the muscle right in between them, there's no reason the muscle wouldn't work. But if the shape and length of the bones, that is only what it is not in line, the muscle that can only ever possibly track in line won't be able to either. because the bones aren't in line. So this will create patterning, and it will travel through every one of the over 600 muscles in the body that it will, and every one of the over 200 bones in the body that it will. So now we'll have bones that are misshapen through bone spurs, and we'll have tendons which connect the muscles to the bones, which are misshapen and excessively grown unnaturally, connecting to the bone in a slightly different position than their only inline tracking position they could possibly work in. And this is patterning in the body. Okay? Now the big thing with this, even through the wind noise, we do have a 6+ mile walk, Dante and I, to get back to where we came from. Okay. Just wait for the wind noise for as long as I do real quick, okay? The 10th of April, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main site, over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning. The reason why this is such a huge thing is because we talk about the jaw, for example, of the human being, stabilizing the entire body. The jaw does speaking, eating, breathing, and stabilization of the entire body at least. These are roles the jaw of the human being plays within the entire human being's body. Here comes some wind again, though. The point of this video really is the quantity of over 600 muscles and 200 bones that can get into patterning. A lot of people will try to address their biceps, their triceps, their trapezius, their quadriceps, their hamstrings, their calf muscles, their hip flexors, their lower back, and maybe that's just about it. Or give or take, somewhere around those muscles and that many muscles. How many muscles is that though? Not all that many compared to the over 600 muscles in the human being. People will massage these muscles though. Massage their neck, massage their shoulders, massage their legs, massage their hips. But there are over 600 muscles in the body. If you're experiencing pain or discomfort in any of these larger, more main functioning muscles, anything that has been altered with these muscles is altered within the entire body because it is a kinetic chain. It is all connected. And there are over 600 muscles having the effect that you're experiencing in these more main, just very few muscles you might be addressing. The whole body's there in the jaw of the human being. We can't try to address any jaw pain by just massaging out some of these muscles on our cheeks. Within the jaw of the human being, there are so many muscles that are holding this patterning. Up to the crown of the head, down to some of these first ribs, out to the edges of the shoulders. The tongue is musculature of the jaw, and there are so many muscles here. Just underneath this lower jawbone called the mandible, there are many, many, many muscles. There are just so many small muscles in the body that can house and retain patterning the same way that you might be thinking you might have something going on in a muscle like your upper trapezius in your shoulder, connecting your shoulder blade to your spine of your neck, the cervical spine, and then up to the base of the rear of the skull. A lot of people will massage out their shoulder musculature, which, usually they'll be rubbing this upper trapezius muscle as one of the very common muscles people will be complaining about pain within. But there are over 600 muscles in the body that are affected if one of these muscles is tight or stiff or uncomfortable. There is an entire chain traveling throughout the entire body of over 600 muscles and 200 bones that is within patterning. If it's something you're experiencing, discomfort or pain in your body, that has not come from something which was a single time injury that you can pinpoint, but it's something to do with time, repetition, or age, or overuse, which would be repetition. But just so you can see what I'm really saying, this is what we would label as patterning. It's like I'm saying your arm moves, you're doing a pattern of your arm going forward and back as you walk. Your feet move, your feet are doing a pattern of going forward and back as you walk. The feet lift up, dorsiflexion, and then they point down, plantar flexion, to walk. It's alternating. This is a pattern. If this is not happening in the only shape and length of the bones that the entire body is made up of, and in the only shape and length of the muscles that the entire body is made up of, then this pattern that's a natural, just forward to back pattern of the feet walking is altered. And the entire body now, all of the over 600 muscles and 200 bones in the body are being affected, tracking, working, ingrained into this incorrect patterning. So when I talk about getting out of chronic patterning under In the Image Clothing Company, and that's the main focus of what we do and how we can, quote, allow the body to work, unquote. Our slogan here under In the Image Clothing Company, allowing the body to work, what this means is not focusing on only some of these major muscles, the triceps, the biceps, the pectoralis muscles, the trapezius, the core muscles, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, which are core muscles, the lower leg muscles. This is not what I am saying. What I am saying as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, when it comes to getting out of chronic patterning, is there are over 600 muscles in the body. There are over 200 bones in the body. And if any of these are being affected, everything else is connected to them as well. Whether it is directly or indirectly, the body is a kinetic chain, just meaning it's all connected. So, there is a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled, "It Took Me 2 Years." And that was spoken by me, personally, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong. I will be doing this my entire lifetime, and it personally took me 2 years, give or take, to get out of all the chronic patterning my body was in, to now having just all the natural range of motion in my body back again. We are born with what's called, quote, full range of motion, unquote, in our bodies as children. I understand the wind noise, I get it, but you'll be able to get this information from the video. It's just the documentation. It is here. It is the 10th of April, 2026. This is In the Image Clothing Company's main site. Over 600 muscles and 200 bones in patterning is what we are experiencing when we are in patterning. It's the entire body, all connected, all being affected, if any of it is, to some degree or another, because it is all there. So it took me personally 2 years to rid all the patterning that got created from the time that I was an infant, baby, human being child, with just all my body working the way that it does and always still does. But I got into deep patterning from the time I was born until around the time that I was 24 years old, from just about all of the same things we discuss not doing under In the Image Clothing Company. Remember, it's only a clothing focus because it's just the literal wording of anything physically placed onto the physical human being. So tying shoes unevenly, shoelacing techniques, not the only shape of the top of my feet's bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles that grip arches to support my entire body. Tying ropes around my waist, called a drawstring, that you can tie one side over the other and twist the entire body in a right-handed knot or a left-handed knot. We've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled Right-Handed Knots versus Left-Handed Knots. We essentially need right-handed knots on our left side and left-handed knots on our right side as human beings over toward the center line of the body, with anything we put over the other side of something else, just because there are two sides to the center line of the body, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, which is centered. So Yeah, I mean, eating and drinking with the left hand, meaning just the non-dominant hand, will wear our jaw into an imbalance. Will wear our teeth into an imbalance, and then all the musculature of our jaw, stabilizing our entire body, will be imbalanced as well within this chronic patterning that then travels into over 600 muscles in the body and over 200 bones within the human being. This is happening day after day after day after day. From all of these things we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company, like I am saying, eating, speaking, sleeping, sitting, walking, standing, breathing, hydration, but it could be anything and everything that we discuss doing as a human being. It only does what it does. It's just a mechanical machine determined by the shape and length of the bones and the shape and length of the muscles. It could never possibly do anything besides what God designed it to do. We did not grow our bodies. We did not design our bodies. We have to look to the designer, who is Jesus Christ of the human being, to know how it works. You don't have to be religious or believe in anything in the slightest, but we're all human beings. We're all the same thing placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It's been the same for every human being to ever live, and it always will be. So it's anything. Sitting in imbalanced positions, sleeping in imbalanced positions, walking imbalanced because of anything placed onto the body, eating with only one hand, imbalancing the body. Okay, we've got all the things in clothing, like I said earlier, but let me reiterate just to show what I'm saying here again. Pockets, zippers, buttons, stitches, unnatural materials that are man-made, only tens of years old as of today's date, the 10th of April 2026, stretch within clothing, which goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles work in the human being, which is only tens of years old as of today's date. This is the focus for only 100% natural materials in clothing. Unnatural materials did not even exist until we made them as human beings. It has only been tens of years since stretch has been possible to have in our clothing, broad spread, mass produced. So all of these things will get our bodies into chronic patterning. But just to be very clear on what I mean with this, we are not discussing just massaging out your neck, massaging out your hip flexors, massaging out your glutes, massaging out your trapezius or biceps or any part of your body that's just one part to focus on. The body is a chain of over 600 muscles, and the only reason these muscles could possibly be tight is the focus. Is because all muscles do is pull directly straight in line where they connect to bones. It's if the bones are not in their only working position, this is the only possible way we could develop tight muscles to begin with. The body is about the bones. The body is about a skeletal system that is the shape of the body, the frame of the body, the support of the body, that the muscles couldn't possibly do anything without. The muscles determine the position of the body by moving what is the position of the body, which are the bones. The muscles are always and only ever a secondary thought to the bones of the body which they connect to. The human body is about a position, and there's no possible approach to it. This is the only way it possibly can function. Being a mechanical machine, it has to have a frame, and then the frame can be moved by muscles, but only determined by the shape and length of the bones of the frame of the body. There's no approach to this. It's been the same for every human being to ever live, and it always will be. So, chronic patterning, it is deep. It's all the little bones and muscles making up the entire body. There are so many little muscles going into something as simple as the human being's jaw, okay? If we would call the human being's jaw simple. Within the spine of the human being, there are so many little muscles going into stabilizing that. All the spine is made up of a lot of little bones to begin with anyway. So the hands and the feet, like I am saying, this is over a half of the entire body's bones within just these little parts of the body, the hands and the feet. So when it comes to patterning in the body, And over 600 muscles and 200 bones being in patterning in the body, the majority of the places and locations where this patterning is held within the body are places that people often don't even think to look. The hands and the feet, the jaw, and those are some of the biggest places, but they're some of the size-wise smallest places. But you've got over half of the body's entire bones in just the hands and feet. So when you're trying to rid chronic patterning from neck tension or back tension or discomfort in these places, or in your hips or your knees, you have to look in your hands and feet. They're still always only the shape and length that they are. All the bones and muscles making up the hands and feet. And no matter how small, physically size-wise they could seem, over half of the body's entire bones are within the hands and feet. So this is really what it means to have chronic patterning get created in the body, is in these locations. The jaw as well, so many muscles are playing into the functionality of the human being's jaw for the entire body, okay? I get the wind noise, I understand. Good, Dante. Okay, so anyway, you will never rid patterning within your body by focusing on the main muscle groups. If the patterning within your body is held within the small parts of the body, it will always remain if you don't address it. And that's why I'm saying it's such a huge thing. The things that we use the most in our life physically to interact with life are our hands and our feet and our jaw. Okay? We grab things with our hands, we walk across the earth with our feet, we eat things with our jaw. There you go. We breathe though as well, and we speak, and we stabilize our entire body through our jaw. So all of these things are happening in these smaller areas, if you will, of the body. This is where the patterning is really being held in the body, and you will never be able to physically possibly rid the patterning in the body if we're not addressing where it's actually being held in these places with all the dexterity and the motion, and again, over half of the body's bones, like just the hands and the feet alone. So anyway, this is what I'm saying with how we're just so removed from just the way the body can work naturally with slippery flat things, and there's just not the texture for the hands to be able to grip them, and there's not the rounding for the hands to keep all the dexterity of the open palm correlating with the arches in our feet. This is why it's such a big deal, because this will create patterning through the entire body, because this is actually truly the majority of the body's bones is just in these small areas, the hands and feet. So yeah, if we're walking on the flooring that we have as human beings and it's just so unnaturally flat and slippery, you know, they're kind of separate things, flat and or slippery. The slipperiness won't allow for the feet to grip, but also the texture itself as well won't allow for the dexterity of the toes to grip around the texture either. So there's two parts to that. When I say slippery and flat, right, the texture needs to be there, but also the actual dexterity needs to be able to happen with the joints in the fingers and the toes in the hands and the feet, the arches in the hands and the arches in the feet. So that's the thing, is as we established, the hand being the shoulder, if we have patterning in our hand, it travels to our shoulder, but then through the rest of our bodies. If we have patterning in our feet, it travels through to the hip, but then through the rest of the body. And so it could be anything possibly in the entire body that's not just allowed to be in its only neutral position. We will then have patterning get traveled through the entire body, okay? So anyway, just to be very clear on what I really mean, because I've discussed this where I have, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, when it comes to that's what we do here is get out of chronic patterning. And I've made it very clear a lot of what's causing the patterning, how we can rid the patterning, and where in the body are the main locations this patterning gets created and why. But just to understand when we're talking about getting out of chronic patterning, the reason why it takes so much time is because, like I'm saying, every single thing in the body being connected, just being this kinetic chain, we will slightly alter the position in which these muscles are connecting to the bones through their insertions or their tendons. It'll be slightly altered if we take our feet from tracking just straight forward, the only way the shape and length of the bones of the toes and then the rest of the entire feet and then traveling up through the whole body can work with our different length 5 toes. If they're not pointing directly straight forward as we walk, but we have, let's say, 1 foot off to the side, now traveling up the entire chain of the body still has to stabilize and it still has to move. And so everything will be slightly tweaked to the degree of what angle the foot points away from the only inline straightforward direction we are walking, from the length and shape of the bones of our toes, which just point evenly straight forward the direction we're walking. If we have 1 foot move off to the side, that's not only the bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in that foot creating patterning, because they still are only the shape and length that they are, designed to point straight forward, sharing even weight off the ends of our 5 different length toes, pointing straight forward from the pinky toe, just as we point straight out from the outside of the pinky finger from the arm. If we're slightly off with 1 foot, and every single step we take, these muscles connecting to the bones that only pull directly in line aren't allowed to pull directly in line the direction our feet are taking our entire body. Traveling up the chain of the entire bodies over 600 muscles and 200 bones, patterning gets created because everything's just slightly off. Like I was showing with the wrist, if we just slightly drop the wrist, it's not working in the only inline tracking position of the shape and length of the bones, in which the muscles connect to directly through tendons and pull only directly in line. That's all the body can possibly do, or it is damaged, which is what this means when we talk about chronic patterning. It's lasting damage to the body that we can rid, we can reverse, and we can get out of this chronic patterning. And I've shown it, I've documented it personally within my own experience. Evan Strong, date marked, posted publicly under what I call the gift of video as I've gone. That's what I'm saying has taken me 2 years, and this is why it takes time. It's not something you can possibly rush, because these muscles connecting through to the bones, as the tendons or insertions just slightly move off centered over time, that's what'll happen. I mean, the tendon will literally change where it connects to the bone, just very slightly, just so that the muscle can still move the bone. The muscle can still only ever possibly pull directly in line. But if the bones aren't allowed to work directly in line, which is all they can possibly do anyway, right, things will have to alter. Bone spurs will be built up, tendons will move where they insert to bones, and this is why our muscles could get tight. It's truly impossible, really, for a muscle to get tight if it's just connected somewhere, and then you've got that insertion or that tendon having the meat or the length of the muscle in between it, and then connecting or inserting through a tendon to another bone on the other side. If the muscle's allowed to track in line, which is the only thing it can ever actually do, how could it possibly get tight? It's just pulling and relaxing and pulling and relaxing straight in line. It has an opposing muscle that does the exact thing on the opposite side. Pulling, relaxing, pulling, relaxing. It's impossible, really, for muscles to get tight or stiff if they can track in line. It's impossible to get what you could call sore, really. And no matter how crazy it could sound, this is true, seen with context, if your body's allowed to just track in its only inline working position, activated as a whole. And it's not some kind of crazy perfect world ideal. This is the state that my body's in. I don't get sore anymore. And it's not a sales pitch. I don't have any kind of sales pitch. We just discuss how the body works. It's undisputed. It's truth. There's only one way it possibly happens. It's a mechanical machine. I've discussed it very thoroughly in this video, and I will be doing this the rest of my entire lifetime. As I say, try to come back and disprove what we do under In the Image Clothing Company 30, 60, 80, 100, 5,000 years down the road. The human being will always only work the exact same way, and our information will always be valid under In the Image Clothing Company, as long as we're aligning it with the truth of God, which really just in this case is meaning that there's only one way the human body could ever work, and the only end is to allow it to. When we discuss it so thoroughly, I don't have any kind of claim to ever try to get anyone to believe on anything in life ever. Truth is truth. I don't get sore though, because I allow my body to work. I used to get sore. No sales pitch. I know it sounds like I'm trying to preach something. I'm just discussing the truth. I'll be doing this the rest of my entire life. You know, you just find out about people's sales pitches. They claimed something was something for a while and they were just making it sound good. No, try. I mean, make it your life's goal to disprove what we do under In the Image Clothing Company. You never will, because it's not my choices. The body was designed to work, and it just will if we can allow it to track in line. And there's so much more to it as well. We have to eat properly and naturally, and stay hydrated properly and naturally, and know what these things actually mean. We discuss everything, truly, that we do as a human being under In the Image Clothing Company. But it's only a mechanical machine. The only reason you eat is to fuel the mechanical machine. The only reason we drink water is to lubricate the mechanical machine. The only reason we sleep is to rest the mechanical machine of the human being. And that's all it is a physical, operable mechanical machine determined by the shape and length of these over 600 muscles and 200 bones. And they can get chronically unable to work in this chronic patterning, but it is reversible without any kind of surgical procedure or doctor's visit, within our own individualistic situations, to the degree that you can do what you can do about your own personal body. But it's just no claim. It's no new information either. It's just the truth. And why I'm saying this is just because what I was saying, I just didn't fully wrap up what I was meaning by it takes time. You've got every single one of these over 600 muscles in the body having at least 2 insertions or 2 tendons, 2 ends to it. Because in order for a muscle to pull, to do anything in the body, it has to connect to at least 2 sides to pull one side to another side. Okay? And every one of these tendons can be just slightly moved off to where it would naturally be, connecting to a bone, you know, over time. That's what we call patterning, that's what's happening, is like I'm saying, the muscles will change slightly where they are connecting to bones, because the bones have changed where they're tracking and the muscles are still just pulling on them. So as it happens, that's where things like bone spurs get created. So I stepped on Dante's tail a minute or two ago there. He didn't really react much, but I feel bad for him, you know, well, meaning I just feel sorry. Just for some context, I didn't notice, and all of a sudden he just like moved his tail and it slipped out from under my boot. Anyway, I'm wearing barefoot boots though, so I didn't put much pressure on him, but he's over here still. My standard poodle. He's awesome. Okay. Anyway, this patterning. Well, there you go. That's the point. You know, on In the Image Clothing Company poodles, another one of our fours, we specialize in purebred standard size, which is the large size of poodles, which is the breed of dogs. But we give information that applies to all dogs that we title Letting Dogs Stay Natural. The same thing we do here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side for the human beings with allowing the body to work. And it's the exact same thing. There's no approach, no claim, no sales pitch, no new information. But we have these once wild animals that we bring into our modern man-made world, and we place man-made products onto them. Collars, leashes, harnesses, slip leads, bandanas, anything placed onto a dog. Up. Tied on or around the dog. You know, we can damage the dog's body, get it into chronic patterning, the same that we do as human beings with our bodies. It's the same thing. God designed the human body to work. There's no opinion ever to how to get it to work. It's like all the animals on the earth that don't do stretching routines or workouts to try to get their bodies to do something besides just what they do. That'd be physically impossible. Just as it truly is physically impossible to get the human being to do anything besides just what God designed it to do. There's no claim. It's always been the same. We just don't understand it if we don't. And certainly we don't know why it's happening or where it's coming from if we don't. Like I'm saying, until I was 24 years old, me personally, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, doing everything like wearing oversized clothing and twisting my body with ropes, shoelaces, and drawstrings is what I mean by ropes in this case. You know, I mean, just all the things, like I didn't even know there were rotated seams in the clothing I was wearing. I didn't know what that was or to look for it. We just don't know these things. It's no new information, it's just new understandings because we don't know anything in life until we do. Just like our dogs, for example, and in the Image Clothing Company poodles, one of the big focuses is just there's so many hidden dangers for our dogs in modern day, in our modern man-made world, with us domesticating dogs, taking dogs under our ownership and care as human beings. You know, man-made poisons, things like vehicles, you know, cars that could potentially be very harmful or even kill dogs. They're hidden dangers in a way, if you can see what I mean, to the dogs. They just don't understand these things the way that we do as human beings, and we have to teach them. We just don't know what we don't know, and we can't be held accountable for what we don't know. So we give a lot of free information under In the Image Clothing Company. Anyway, chronic patterning gets built up in the dog's body. Picture you tie something like a bandana around the neck of a dog and one side over the other, you twist the entire dog's body. The whole spine, but the spine's in the center line of the dog's body, and then you've got every muscle and bone in the dog's body, just like all of our 600 muscles or 200 bones. There's more than that of each, right? But over 600 muscles and over 200 bones in the whole body get affected if we tie a rope around the center of the body. Everything else traveling out is slightly altered and tweaked in its only inline tracking position. There's no sales pitch. It's just the truth of mathematics. That's what I mean. You know, take what we do under In the Image Clothing Company to your mathematics professor or your physics professor, you know, your anatomy expert, because we're a clothing company, but you're professional in anatomy of the human being who has some kind of certified degree in really knowing what they're actually doing. They'll say that what we're saying is true if it's aligning with the truth of God. I mean, we might say things wrong here and there, you know, but we're just imperfect human beings who rely on a perfect God, and our bodies are all the same. There's a universal human design, and we get into universal clothing patterns. Let me say this, okay? We've got clothing designs in modern 2026 that are fairly universally designed and then fairly universally shipped across the entire planet Earth in ways that couldn't have possibly happened in the past before we had the technology to do this. And so this is what I'm saying is, if you've got universal clothing imbalances placed onto a universal human design across the whole planet Earth, now we're in universal chronic patterning. We also live in a right-handed world, all right? There's a lot of things we discuss. I just, you know, I don't know how much time I have as far as like storage space on this device right now, or something like this. You know, sometimes I get cut off. I have in the past. So I'll say what I can say here, because we live in a 85% give or take right-handed human being society. Okay, the vast majority of human beings use their right hand for just about everything, but there's two sides to the body. So this is what I'm saying, this tracking inline only workings of the only shape and length of the bones, the only shape and length of the muscles of the human being, if they're just off to the right side in a right-handed patterning, now you just have a patterning, okay? And that's what I'm saying, chronic patterning, bone spurs, scar tissue, affected into every one of the over 600 muscles and over 200 bones throughout the entire body, because it's all connected. That's what I'm saying. The big point of this video's title is just the depth of where this travels to in the body, because there's certain muscles you can't even get to in the body. You're not going to get to certain internal muscles where they insert to the bones, because that's the point, right? Is the insertions of the muscle to the bone at the tendon. That's where we address getting out of chronic patterning. The main part of the muscle is just the main part of the muscle. It's always the same. It just depends on where it's connected to something. It'll pull those two things directly in line. But those inserts, or the insertions, the tendons, that's what we address when it comes to breaking up the scar tissue in the body. And especially in this right-handed world, we get into a right-handed patterning. And so that's what we're focusing on. The scar tissue built up along the bones, or the bone spurs where the muscles connect to the bones. You'll never rid patterning by focusing on the main meat part of the muscle. That's impossible. All that does is contract or relax. But it's the end points. That's what I'm saying. That's the huge focus as well, just to make very clear. It's where the muscle connects to the bone, because that's obvious. If you look at what's wrong, that's where the bone spur is being created. It's obvious if you look at what's wrong, that's where the scar tissue is where the muscles are adhering to the bones. It has nothing to do with the main meat part of the muscle, the main flesh of the muscle, the main center bulk of the muscle. You'll never address anything by trying to massage out just the main part of your muscle. You'll never do anything. Never. That muscle's supposed to stay just how it is. But where it's connecting to the bone, that's something that can be really altered, because tendons, in a way, are almost scar tissue to begin with. They're really tough in tissue. That's how you connect this soft flesh of the muscle to a firm stick, if you will, of the bone, is this scar tissue, essentially, of a tendon. And so this tendon just moves where it attaches to the bone, or it pulls on the bone and the bone shape grows. That's a bone spur, right? So scar tissue, bone spurs, these are chronic patterning build-ups in the body. This is where we focus. Just to be very clear, I'm so glad I said that the way that I did in this video before I cut it out, because that's the point. It's just to be very clear on what it means to get out of chronic patterning. That's what I'm saying, is there's certain muscles in your body you will never get to with your hands without surgical procedures cutting your body open. There's muscles deep up inside the skull of the human being. There's muscles inside of the rib cage, and muscles in our organs. There's different types of muscles in the body, and some muscles in the body don't actually connect to bone, but muscles that connect to just other parts of the body, like meaning the digestive system of the body, the intestines. These are not muscles that connect to bones to move bones, but these muscles still contract to push and move food through the body's digestive tract. And the heart, it doesn't connect to other bones to pull bones together, but the heart is a muscle that contracts to pump blood through the body. So there's different types of musculature in the body, but no matter what it is, it still only is the shape and length that it is. It still only has the function it does. And if anything's altered in the body, everything will be, to some degree, truly. I mean, it's unavoidable. It's all connected. It's all working together, even just for the sake of carrying it. I discuss it like we can't drag around dead weight. And so, I mean, even if you've got, like, let's say, disconnected nerves, and so you don't have an amputated arm, it's still there, but let's say you don't have any functioning or feeling in it, your body's still carrying the weight of your arm around all day. And this can create patterning in the rest of your body, because even though your arm's not doing anything besides just being there, if it's like dead tissue, or at least not able to activate, Anyway, just meaning no matter what the case is, the entire body's always still there, and there is not just a few things to focus on. You've got over 600 muscles and over 200 bones, and everything there is always there if it's connected to your body. So what I mean is, where these tendons move off a little bit from their natural insertions to bones in the body, this is deep inside the body, where we can't get to break up the scar tissue the way that we could on something like our elbow or the outside of our pinky, and especially on the right side of our bodies in this right-handed world. On our sternocleidomastoid insertion up to the skull here, to the mastoid behind the ear, the pelvic crest, and the foot, especially the right foot, you know, the outside of it specifically with the arches gripping inward. They have to start first from the outside, even though that's the shortest toe at the pinky toe. You know, on the outside of the leg, we've got a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side titled "The Top of the Right Fibula," which is the top of the outer lower leg bone at the knee joint. You know, scar tissue gets built up there, especially in this right-handed world. So these areas are some of the specific areas we fairly universally get patterning built up in our bodies. This is what I mean. Don't believe me, but you can see what I'm saying now with all this context I've given on certain locations in the body. Truth is truth. No sales pitch ever under In The Image Clothing Company. That's our goal, at least. We're not ever trying to have a sales pitch. I mean, we'll sell good clothing only to allow the body to work. We'll sell good dog products just to let the dog stay natural, which is the same approach, right? And whatever else we branch out into product-wise, we'll certainly have products for sale. Yes, that's a big part of what we are, at least will be once we start having that be the case down in St. George, Utah. This month, April 2026, Dante, my current standard poodle, and I, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, we're moving down to St. George, Utah. That's where we'll be based for life, doing so much under the gift, as I call it, of video, and so much living up Utah with the beautiful, diverse nature. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints headquarters is here in the state of Utah. A lot of it will be in St. George, Utah. Okay, our team will be down there living near us, and our building will be down there, and we'll breed purebred standard poodles down there to advocate for the health of purebred dogs, and, you know, showing how to do it properly under the gift of video. We'll do it as properly as we do it, right, if you see what I'm saying. Anyway, there's a lot of context to give. This is what I'm saying, though, is there's a lot of things deep inside the body that you will never get to. You just can't with your fingers or with any kind of instruments like tools to break up this scar tissue, but these things will be able to happen over time. Well, okay, here's a good point. As I reach up to grab the back of my neck, just to kind of itch the back of my neck, there's a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here titled "Clothing's Effect on the Nuchal Ligament," or however it's exactly titled. It's about the nuchal ligament. This ligament from the base of the skull back here at the occiput down to the, you know, top of the thoracic spine, the whole cervical spine, the whole spine of the neck. There's this ligament right in the center of the back of the neck. And this is what I mean. That's just one ligament connecting some of over the, over 200 bones in the body. And then the musculature, like the upper trapezius, connecting to the same area that this nuchal ligament is at. These upper trapezius are only two of the muscles of the over 600 muscles within the human being that can get into chronic patterning. And so if you've got a misaligned neck and you really get imbalanced in just 1, 2, 3, just a few muscles, right, where the tendons are inserting them to bones, or the bones themselves just get misaligned and then you're altering the tendons, and then there's the muscles between there, right? It's from the muscles out to the bones, or it's from the bones into the muscle. The tendons are what's connecting the muscle to the bone. And then, yeah, the bones are just directly to each other through ligaments, and so that shape has to always remain as well. The point is, let's say you alter just a few muscles or bones like this by just having a misaligned neck. Well, now the rest of your entire body will be feeling the effects, dealing with the effects, and being deeply, deeply, deeply ingrained into patterning as well. It just travels throughout. It couldn't not, and have the body still continue to try to work, because it's all going anywhere any of it is the entire time you're alive. And there's a lot. It's about the quantity. This video's title, that there are over 600 possibilities of muscles to be altered, and over 200 possibilities of bones to be altered in the body. There's scar tissue, bone spurs, misalignments, chronic patterning. It's all a chain. It's all connected. There you go. And some of this is just so deep that the point is that it takes time. That's what I mean. You'll never rush this, and you'll never do it by any other way besides just starting to be intentional and staying intentional. When we have our slogan being "allowing the body to work" under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, that's synonymous with just saying being intentional to not damage our bodies, really, okay? But you have to know how to before you can, right? Or else you just won't know what to even do. Rightfully, yeah, understandably, certainly. Like I didn't until I did, with anything I didn't know until I learned. I understand the noise, right? I get it. But I want to be very clear to express my gratitude for the way that I've been able to lay this video out, because coming into this video, right, I said I felt uncomfortable. It was a true, honest, I didn't feel comfortable about it. I felt out of place. And I made it clear to say a lot of the reason as to why is because of the impact and the magnitude of this video. And now, around 2 hours, 15 minutes into this video, you can see why. And again, as I say, you do not need to believe us under In The Image Clothing Company. Certainly not me, Evan Strong, the founder. But the way I can say that is because of documentations like this, of our depth of discussing things to where there's no possible dispute to what I have said here being valid information on how the human body mechanically functions and what the human body truly is, and only that. So there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. And that's not talking down on anyone that has any kind of difference within their body from the universal human design, but that's on the other end why it's so important to get our own individual bodies as close as we can to the universal human design, because that is truly the only option to have the most functional body according to just how it should, if you can see what I'm saying, should work. That's the only option. Is understanding what it means to be a human being, understanding what this universal human design is, and just getting as close as we possibly can to that functionality. Otherwise, it just won't function as well as it could within our own individualistic situations. So there you go, okay? We've got In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We are on episode 204 as of today's date, the 10th of April, 2026. We just have deep discussions on life. Like I'm saying, you don't have to believe in anything at all. What if you don't believe in anything? Everything's still there. Anything that is, right? Truth is truth, spoken or unspoken. I mean, you can't even have the opportunity to believe how you got here, like where we came from as human beings, until you first get here to try to develop a belief on how it happened. It only happened how it did. Just like the body. We as a human being can't have any kind of idea on trying to get our human bodies to do something, because we're the thing that already came first that we're trying to change. It's impossible to do. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Truth is truth, always and forever. No human being gets to decide or change truth. Truth is always just truth. Whether it's through science, or it's through religion, or it's through any kind of means, truth is truth. We're always just trying to get down to truth as human beings, because that is truly all that exists, or nothing does. Something exists, and how can it? Because it does. That's the truth. If not, it doesn't. I mean, truth is so simple. It's something that's so easy to understand once we know who Jesus Christ is, who is the truth. Don't believe me, but we have deep discussions on this under In The Image Clothing Company podcast. In The Image Clothing Company music, another one of our fours where we show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter things like the neutral wrist, right? Straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger, but the natural rounding in our hands as well. The big thing is, in all aspects of life, fingernails and toenails have to be there. They're natural God-given strength. The reason why they grow is to back and support the fingers and toes. So we cut our fingers, nails, and our toenails relatively flat on the tips once we keep them all the way to the tips to stay in the neutral position of the hand, the neutral position of the wrist, the neutral position of the foot, and the neutral position of the ankle, then traveling into the rest of the entire body from the extremities, the hands and the feet. Like I'm saying, patterning, getting created in the body, well, quantity-wise, over half of the body's entire bones are in the hands and feet combined. So if we don't have them working properly by having their natural support by fingernails and toenails, you can do whatever you'd like to try to get your body to do something. It will be physically impossible no matter what if you don't have your natural support there still from your fingernails and toenails, okay? So one of those things I didn't know either until I was about 24 years old. As the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, I just had different length fingernails and toenails all the times that I did. But now I understand the importance and the need for fingernails and toenails, all right? It's a universal thing. It's all opinions aside. It's what allows the body to have strength backing the extremities. These fingers just stem off from the hand quite a ways, and the end of the finger pad will just roll away if there's not support behind it to just give it that natural strength. Where grip strength really comes from is another video I filmed in November of 2025 in beautiful St. George, Utah. I was holding these slabs of this beautiful sandstone down there in this Red Rock Canyon. Oh, it was awesome. You know, that video's currently, at least, still up under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here. Yeah, if you can find it, there you go. But either way, it's just fingernails and toenails are hugely important. Where's Dante? He's fine. He's over at the playground over there. Okay, so, yeah, right. Rhythm and poetry, spoken word, lyricism, guitar playing, singing, music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. This is a lot of what we do under In The Image Clothing Company music. We've got series where we do, though, on any of the sides of In The Image Clothing Company that we do. We do a lot here for the environment, for the health of the planet Earth, for the dogs, for us as human beings. We'll just do good things with good companies and cool people, you know? Good people doing good things, as I word it. And this is a lot of what we have been doing, we'll continue to do, and we'll be able to do more of as our team builds down in beautiful St. George, Utah, under In The Image Clothing Company, right? So there you go. We just make it so clear. We discuss where clothing sits so clearly. You know, so much of it is things like shoelaces and drawstrings. So much of it is 100% natural materials in our clothing in all the ways we can. So much of it is things like removing tags from clothing, just causing a physical gap in our clothing. It's just labeling that legally started to have to be put into clothing just tens of years ago from today's date, the 10th of April 2026, because these unnatural synthetic and artificial type materials, just synonyms with fake, that poison our bodies through the holes in the skin called pores. The skin's an organ. It's called the epidermis. You know, there's a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here titled The Epidermis. Anyway, hey Dante, come. Let's get Dante back over here. But, yeah, right. There's just only one way the human body could ever work. So we discuss where clothing sits very clearly. Yeah, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. Like I said, you are just a human being within this universal human design. The bottom of the feet, okay, zero drop, just flat. Determine any brand of shoe. The top of the feet, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. It's just what we title the only way you could weave a rope across the top of your feet without altering the way they work. It'll never change. It's no opinion of ours, okay? Under In The Image Clothing Company. Yeah. So, pants sit at our natural waist, okay, above the hips, but below those lowest ribs, like I was saying, where our elbows sit. It's where our pant waistlines sit as well. The only way you can bend side to side is at the spine, you know, here at the spine. Okay, slightly higher in the front than the rear for the waistband angle. Really, if we could keep them exactly horizontal, the pant waistlines on our bodies, then that'd be great, because it's the same as the horizontal surface of the earth, same as the bottom of our feet's neutral from dorsiflexion or plantar flexion. It's the hips neutral from posterior or anterior rotation, but we hinge forward in the front, right? We hinge at the hips, which is an anterior rotation of the pelvis anyway. If our pant waistline ever falls lower in the front, it'll just take the pelvis with it out of its neutral into an anterior position. So yeah, top seams that we wear on our tops, right? Evenly right behind the peak of the shoulder with individual top seams of our shoulders. Our shoulders will follow shoulder seams. Gravity is a big point. Gravity just pulling down on our clothing, and our shoulders just only ever work behind our head. It's just where they connect mechanically, and we just discuss it in such depth under In The Image Clothing Company. There's no possible dispute. But you have to start with your feet flat on the ground, and you have to start with your pant waistline, not altering your body, to know where your shoulders naturally sit. But the fingertips are just the other end of the shoulder, as we established earlier, and gravity's pull just hangs the pendulum of the hand down straight from the shoulder, and then you've got full range of motion in your arms, because God designed the body to work. The full range of motion in our body should never leave. It's there as a child. The only way it goes anywhere is through patterning. No other possible opinion to that. Age doesn't do it. No. The only reason why you could think age limits your range of motion as a human being is because it's more time to potentially get within deeper patterning. That's all it is, truly, truly. Again, the bones shape and length never ceases to be what it is, and the muscles shape and length never ceases to be what it is. Don't believe us, but we discuss it in such depth you couldn't possibly dispute it. Okay, under In The Image Clothing Company, just how the body of the human being works and how to allow it to. We discussed the edge seams of the tops, but yes, right at the very edges of our shoulders, we just got joining bones messing with joining materials. So button-ups though, you know, there's just a band of material on this type of design of any top that just is sitting behind the shoulders naturally, but single seams are the ones that just sit right evenly behind the peak of the shoulder, which is just the other end of the collarbone or clavicle from the sternum, okay, where it meets at the shoulder's edge. So we talk about so much those such little things, you know, like I'm saying, the little bones in the hands and feet, and the little muscles in the hands and feet and the jaw and places like this of the human being. You might not think that often at all to look, or maybe never would think to look, to try to address things like posture problems, and really this is just chronic patterning in the body. Same thing with clothing. It's the little things. You know, the free modifications we give in clothing, things like In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, wherever these things could possibly be in clothing. Well, collars are around our neck, but rotations anywhere in clothing. In The Image Clothing Company's pant zipper modification, things like tongue tabs in shoes, tags removing from clothing. You know, we have to remove all tags or else they're just physically in our way. Just like sticking a leaf from a tree between your clothing item and your body's skin, it'll just change the body's only workings no matter where it's placed within clothing. It's just something physically in the way of our physical mechanical machine that is our human body, okay? So we have no opinion here that we're trying to have or push or preach or go off of at all under In The Image Clothing Company. We are based, rooted, and standing firmly on the truth of God. Being designed in the image of Jesus Christ, there's only one way this body could ever possibly work. Opposing anyone with any kind of worldly approach to trying to get the body to do something through training or anything like this, it is physically impossible. And this video alone has enough depth of explanation that you couldn't possibly, rightfully, sanely dispute that as being the truth. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. I say it so bold because our bodies either work or they don't. We need our bodies to work to be able to have our bodies work. The only thing that we have is an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. It's our human body. Once our bodies go away, our physical life goes away. Everything comes or goes in life only to or from, essentially, our human bodies, okay? So that's all we've got. That's why I'm so bold about it, because it's entirely universal. Our information under In The Image Clothing Company, because there is a universal human design, and it's entirely outdated. Well, yeah, that's funny, because it's entirely unable to be outdated. The information of the truth of God. Not necessarily saying that what we're saying under In The Image Clothing Company is always correct, but that's our entire focus, is to align everything we do with God. And there's no opinion to God either. How'd you get here? Well, only how you did, because you're here. I don't get to tell you that out of my decisions, but truth is truth. There's no other way things happen besides how they happen. I mean, we get, yeah. All right, thank you, okay? Thank you. Good, Dante. I mean, I will be doing this my entire lifetime. If you think, whoever you are at any time, that I just have some kind of like claim or approach, because I know a lot of human beings do. They come up with some new company, some new approach, some new product, dispute it, try to disprove it, try to tear it down as being false. Your entire life, make that your entire goal. That maybe we have some kind of perfect world claim that's not true. When I say there's only one way the human body could ever work, no matter who's trying to train bodies of human beings, it is impossible. Mathematically, mechanically, physically, truly, measurably, it's impossible to change the workings of the human being unless it's through something like surgical procedures. You've had all the same range of motion in your body since you were born. It should never go away. It's everything. The digestive system, the heart, the breathing, the speaking, the sleeping. I mean, everything. Hydration. We discuss it all. We discuss it so clearly. And we will only deepen our understandings personally and then our explanations as well under In The Image Clothing Company as time progresses, as our team builds, and as we just keep going through life. You know, I mean, don't believe us, man. But it's true. God is true, is the point. It's not our choices. So the thing is, I say it so clear, you don't have to care to want to even try to care in the slightest bit about clothing, and certainly not fashion. That's a separate thing from the literal word of clothing to begin with, but it's the only thing physically placed on your body. If you're not intentional about clothing, your body won't work. If there's anything you're physically placing onto it, the literal word of clothing your body with something that's just not allowing it to function, it's gravity, man. I mean, it's truly just the pull of gravity's effect on whatever we place on our bodies. It's just mechanics. It's just truth. It's just a universal human design that's always been and always will be the exact same. It's nothing to do with little old Evan Strong, other than I've developed a community here we title In the Image Clothing Company, because we're going to do a lot with this in a lot more ways than just what you're seeing and hearing here, in a lot more ways than just clothing, in a lot more ways than just the basic understanding of what each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company is. We'll be doing so much, and you'll see what I mean. So much of it is for the environment of the planet Earth, you know, in-person events, things like this, you know. I mean, just stick around and find out. But yeah, okay. All right, thank you.